Hello, my name is Debbie Jacobs, and I wanted to do a live tonight on making positive change for happiness, to improve the quality of our life, to improve the integrity of our people. And basically, if we want to improve the integrity of our people, we have to go into our parenting system to make change. You know, anything that, we want to see in our people, we have to go into the parenting and make changes. And, let me tell you something. We have a lot of negative thinkers. We have low self esteem, and we have negative, ineffective coping skills that we need to take out of parenting. And, by making positive change, I believe that that will significantly increase people's happiness. Maybe we need to start going with, addressing the people that we're turning out, in the world. There's a lot of mental illness. There's a lot of anger. There's a lot of violence. There's a lot of crime. There's a lot of greed. There's a lot of negativity. There's a lot of selfishness. What's going on? Why are people coming, out of childhood like that? And they're coming out hurt. They have pain to heal. That means we have to look at our parenting to see how can we address the problem from the root. How can we make positive change so that our children aren't ending up being hurt? And what is, the source of hurt in childhood? The constant source of hurt. It's punishment. It's abuse. It's invalidation. It's put downs. It's not respecting boundaries. It's not respecting opinions. It's disrespect, in our parenting. I mean, parents think that they could do whatever they want. They could yell at their kid. They could bully their kid. Kids are subject to how their parents, act. They are at the mercy. But that's not really, that's not right. And that's not an option. You cannot just treat children any way you wish. They need their protection too. They need to be safe in their own home. Not, at the at the beck and call of their parents. Parents can't just yell at their kids. Parents need to show self control. And when they show self control, they teach self control. And they're not scaring their children, small children. That's not good for kids. Hitting is not good for kids. And you know what I'm finding is that parents are like burning up with fury over being told, that over their parenting being challenged. But let me tell you something. This is a gift to you and your children. Like other people don't have this gift. You have this gift. Your kids get to grow up with happiness and not be on the path to mental illness and not have mental illness for life. But parents are ignoring, the only person that's made it out of mental illness. And I'm really, I'm sharing my experience with people on Facebook, on YouTube, in other blogs, to help the beautiful, authentic self, to help kids that are in the process of develop of the development of the adult that they're meant to be, and I'm trying to speak on their behalf for their safety, for their happiness, for their well being. Telling parents, hey, you know what? You got to back up. Don't be hard on them. Be understanding. Don't invalidate them. That's like inside information that most people didn't have, and I feel like, if there was somebody who could have like come in between, my dad and me, my dad who lived his life in his unhealed pain, and his pain became my pain. And I ended up with mental illness, with depression, anxiety, and bipolar. And I feel like, if there was somebody that could have told my dad way in advance, no, no, don't hit her, don't treat her like that, let her express herself, and that could have helped me in my own development. So now I feel like that's my voice for people, in the ego self that are parenting unconscious to creating hurt for their children. I am like, wake up, and I'm also like, don't hit your kids. Don't hit your kids. Don't put them down. Don't give them, negative thoughts. Don't criticize them like constantly for 18 years. That's the inner critic. Let them have their voice. Respect their opinion, respect their boundaries. Kids need boundaries, and don't scare them. You don't want to ingrain fear into the foundation of their being, and help them, like, I have a whole, slew of parenting tips, because parenting to accomplished positive thinkers with healthy self-esteem is much different than parents who are negative thinkers with low self-esteem. Even parents who taught themselves, positivity, but they didn't accomplish, you know, um, healthy self-esteem. So they're more positive, but they still have low self-esteem. And that's what they're going to teach to their kids, because they go together. And the low self-esteem means that the parent is putting themselves down, is criticizing themselves, is beating themselves up when they do something wrong, is giving them a hard time over things that they don't necessarily need to be given a hard time about, or making feel guilty. I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, I feel so guilty leaving my kids." Don't. Enjoy yourself. Stay positive. Don't create that. Guilt is a way of putting ourselves down. And we learn it from our childhood, from being put down. That's where we get it from. We actually create a behavior because we've been put down so much. Not positive thinking. And it's a lot of hurt for kids. Don't we want, their happiness? If we want their happiness, then we have to make positive change in parenting, or kids are going to remain on the path to negative thoughts and low self-esteem. And that path leads to mental illness. And there's an increase in mental illness in our youth. What direction is this world going in? So I post these videos, and I put out information, but it's it's really important that somebody start to recognize and say, hey, what I'm saying is very valuable and can help a lot of people. A lot. I healed myself out of my mental illness. I'm not the only one. If I can do it, it can be done. And I know that my mental illness had to do with my upbringing. I have a master's degree. I was a corporate woman. I lived in Manhattan. There were a lot of good things about my family. But my dad's hurt became our hurt. And let me tell you something. I had the most wonderful, kind, compassionate, giving woman as a mom. She by far is the kindest person I have ever met in my life. No anger, never ever upset me at all. She never upset me. I used to upset her, you know, because I used to take out my hurt on my mom, and she allowed me to. She allowed me to get my pain out, and she took it. That's really nice. And that taught me about being a parent. Our parents have to take our pain for us, and they don't. They create our pain for us. But kids have to be able to put their pain somewhere on their parents. That's part of the learning process. Parents will show them how to deal with it. So they learn how to effectively deal with their pain and their upset. But you know what? I didn't end up, with kindness and all that stuff. I ended up in my ego self. And I had to go get healing to be like my mom. I ended up like my dad, and my siblings ended up like my dad. And their kids, ended up hurt also. And basically, my mom was the more compassionate, kind one, and she got a mental illness diagnosis. But my dad was more abusive, and he didn't get a mental illness diagnosis. He actually, was abusive to my mom, and she ended up with a mental illness diagnosis, not my dad. And before, meeting my dad, she never had anything with mental illness. So in my family, abuse is the root of mental illness, not a family history or genetics or hereditary. My mom was diagnosed after I was born. Like way after, and way late in life too. So, they don't really know about mental illness. They don't. They're not diagnosing correctly. Everybody has negative thoughts. Everyone's a negative thinker with low self-esteem. So this is a mess. It needs to get cleaned up, because our youth, our future generations, are being negatively affected by it. And we have people living in unhappiness instead of happiness. And my concern is that people that are already set in their ways, they don't want to make any change. They don't want to change themselves. They don't want to change their anger. They don't want to change their fear. They don't want to change beating themselves up. They're in the ego, and the ego thinks that they're perfect and they're always right, and they know everything, and you have to give that up to make change, and they can't. They don't want to. They have these ingrained behaviors, and they don't even have the thinking to accomplish rationalizing whether or not they should make change. It's almost like they can't. I hope not. Because change needs to be made. It doesn't matter. We cannot continue this parenting where kids are ending up with negative thoughts and low self-esteem. Parents need to get back on track to positive thinking and healthy self-esteem, and I'm going to do whatever I can to get through to people and to help people make that happen. So, because that's the positive change that we need to make for happiness in the world. So, all right, my name is Debbie Jacobs. Thanks for joining. Take care. Bye-bye.